Hi and welcome. I'm John and this is Unique Wargaming Terrain. Guys, welcome back. This is the Monday painting video for everyone that's new. The Monday painting video from last week's Weekly Wednesday, which is a weekly Q&A. You guys vote on a host of models, and whichever one has the most votes, whether it be a single model or a unit of models, they will get painted for the Monday painting video. So for all my regulars here, guys, I feel the love. Thank you very much. I'll see you in a second. Right, so what won the vote? The Illuminor. It's an amazing Necron model. It's massive. So I'm going to give you a quick sneaky peeky at everything. The first thing I need to do with this model is, because it's been sitting there for months and months and months waiting for me to paint it, the first thing I need to do is get a big brush like this and then gently come along and give it a brush down to make sure there's no dust on the surfaces or anything like that, or any cobwebs. There's nothing worse than you have a model sitting there and then you come to paint it and there's a web hanging off of it. So I'm going to give it a little brush down. Then I'm going to get some Steel Legion drab and dry brush that across the gravel on the base. And I'll come back to you at that stage and show you my wet palette. Right, so here we are, guys. So I'm going to say you didn't do the gravel bits there, and because they're going to have different colours on them. They're going to have different colours to them. So let me run you through the wet palette first of all. We have Illuminor Brass, Beaten Copper, which is an old paint, but you can get, you know, the equivalent of it, or maybe from, not from GW, but from a different company that do Beaten Copper. Retributor Armour, Lead Belcher, Vulcan Green, Polished Blue. Again, it's an old paint, but it's such a lovely paint. You can get the same effect by using a silver and then like a blue wash. Moot Green, but that's the airbrush paint. Screaming Skull, and some white scars. Now there are a few other colours floating around in the background, as you can see, but they are to be done afterwards, some of the contrasts and washes and stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take some Screaming Skull, which is I've got a Screaming Skull on there. We'll take some Screaming Skull, because there's so much detail in this model. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint all this stonework with Screaming Skull. Yeah, so I'm going to say, why are you painting the stonework with Screaming Skull? Because when I put a contrast paint over it afterwards, I'm going to get the effect that I want. See, I've watered down the Screaming Skull, really watered it down. It's a layer paint, so I want to get as much in there as possible. So I want to get as much coverage as possible, and then as it dulls down, I can maybe give it a second coat, but not the whole thing, just here and there. So I'm going to do all these bits. Try and do the bit the ground that he's on. So I've gone off camera. I do apologise, guys. I get so carried away, especially with a big model like this. All these bits on that your man's laying on, and then he actually has his hand is actually a bone. So I get that quick once over. And part of his face, I actually should get the box eye, so not to copy, but just so I can see where the bits of things are. But that's what I'm going to do with the Screaming Skull. So I'm going to go off camera and do that and come back to you. Right, so I forgot about this swirly bit of energy that comes out of the corpse. I also painted the guy's robes to make my life a little bit easier. So I've done all the stone, gone around to see some bits are lighter than others, because I've given it a second coat roughly along the edges, and just like you see that stone's brighter, just to really pick it out when I go to the next stage. Now I'm going to get some White Scars White, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to do the same sort of thing again, just along little bits here and there, like along the edges of the cracks that are on this rock, to make it really stand out. Just a few bits. Now on this, I'm actually going to come across and just do, not the whole thing, I'm going to do it halfway down. And this might take a couple of coats just because I want it to be really bright at the top and dark at the bottom. This is an advanced technique what I'm showing you here, guys, for everyone that's new. So we've done it with a screaming skull. Now we're going with, here that is, just that little swell there. There's so much detail on this model. Absolutely fantastic model. I've actually been looking forward to painting this boy for a long time. So you can see it's darker here but lighter here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over his robes as well, just to get the raised areas around his legs. I'm going to come back for the next stage. It's going to really pop out. You can see that. Oh, that's brilliant. I can see that on camera now. I'm looking. You can see the white that I've done. You can see the bit underneath. So I leave that to dry. I'll come back over and do the legs again because that's fantastic. And the likes of this little, his little swirl of energy that he's taking. Good. Yeah, leave that to dry for a minute or two. I'll come back and do a second coat on it, and I'll come back to you after that. The second coat I'm going to do in the same, on the swell, the same place, and on the legs, won't do it on the rocks again. Right, so here's where we are. Looking fantastic. Now I'm going to get some polished blue, and here's what I'm going to do on this guy. Normally on my Necron Warriors, it's the top piece that I do, but I'm actually going to do is the bottom carapace as well, because I actually think it's going to look absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to do this piece and this piece. Now with this top piece, I don't want to get those little circles in the middle. Let's see those. I don't want to get those circles or those lines. So when it comes to those lines, all I'm going to do is just sort of dry brush it over the top of it. If I have to give it 2 thin coats, I'll give it 2 thin coats, doesn't matter. By dry brushing it over the top, I'm left with a dark line between, so the metals, the blues reflect off the light. Yeah, see that? That's fantastic. So I'm going to do that all the way along, that even if I have to do 2 thin coats, I'll do 2 thin coats. And I'll do the same on this one, because he's got sun there as well. Very light brushes across that little bit there. So what we're left with is the dark bit in the middle. So I'm going to do that rest off camera. There's a fair bit there, and I'll come back to you when I've done that. Right, so here we are. It's starting to come together nicely. Now I'm going to go with Vulcan Green, and I'm going to do the painstaking task of doing all these little circles. Yeah, got some here on his leg, some here. I'm going to do those. There's one under his arm there. Let's grab that first. His blade of his weapon, both ends. His eyeball, he's got an eyeball, there's a little target in eye there as well, so they're going to get done. It's very painstaking and a lot to do there. What I'll do as well, I won't do it now because just in case it's not dry properly, but I will get some Vulcan Green, water it down and run it in the little gap there, run it into that little groove on his shoulder pads. The reason why is because when I start adding more colour to it, even if it runs off slightly into the blue, it's going to look like it's illuminating the place. So I'm going to do those bits and I'll come back to you when they're done. So this is where we're at now. Now I did give the blade a second bit of Vulcan green. You can see where it's darker and lighter. The lighter bit is the second coat. Let's give you a quick rundown of the model. All the little joins are done. Done that. See the effect of the green there? To the little gaps. His eye was on as well. Paint in the back side. So I thought there was 3 eyes there, but it's not. It's a little emblem thing on his head. Now I'm going to go with some Illuminor brass, and I'm going to start doing all of his legs. But because this is such a great model, the little connectors between the leg, I'm going to leave them dark. So again, it's painstaking going around doing all that, but I think, and I hope you agree, that effect looks amazing. So do this one leg, and then I'm going to go up and do the whole lot. So I'm going to go up and do the rest of his body and just do the same effects across the whole model, and I'll come back to you when I've done that. Alright, here's where we're at now. Bring this so you can see. Now I think that little effect between the legs looks fantastic. I left the ball joints dark with the green in the middle as well. His face was annoying to paint. So hard to get into. So now what I'm going to do, the lead belcher. And with the lead belcher, I'm going to come along and do all this like pipe work. Come in and get all this done. The handle of the weapon I'm going to get done. And all of the metallic bits on the base. So there's rhubarb frame. There's a couple of little bits sticking out here, the concrete. And I'll pick out where these little wires can be done. I'm going to finish doing all of that, and I'm going to come back to you then to show you where we're at. Actually, I might do this little as well. Let's give it a bit of spark. Anyway, back to you in a minute. Alright, let's see where we're at. Brush down. Here's where we're at. Looking absolutely fantastic. You can see the green's a bit wet again, so I gave it a 3rd coat of Vulcan green in the same area, so it darkens it right down. Same on the back. It's all done. Now I'm going to get some, I'm not sure about his gauntlet glove here. I'm not sure about that, to be honest with you, but I'm going to come in with some, look at that bit there. That's a bit of the flame, I missed that. I'm going to have to give that a quick once over. But I'm going to come in with some Retributor armour and do his spinal column and his little head crest, because I think his head crest needs to be big and majestic. Some bits on the staff I'm going to paint with the Retributor armour, and then we're going to, I'm going to get some beaten copper onto this bit here, I think. Actually, I haven't used beaten copper yet. Ah, okay. Okay. I'm going to use Retributor armour on his head crest and his spinal column. I'm going to use Retributor armour on his little tabard thing there. Then I'm going to come with some beaten copper and do some being copper on the weapon, just to break up a little bit, and do that little bit there. I might even do his gauntlet with the vegetable armor as well, just to make it different. I'm going to do those bits, and then I'm going to come back to you guys and show you where we're at. Right, so here we are. The copper's done, the gold's done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in and start adding some contrast paints. So contrast paints I have, Rattling Grime for the stonework on the base. Got some Druki Violet, I know it's a contrast paint, it's a shade, but that's going to be added to that as well. Now I don't know if I should be using this one or the Emerald, which I do love this colour, for the energy transference. I'm probably going to go with the Druki Violet, just be safe. Now this is where what we've done earlier on comes into effect, because the white that I put on there is going to stand out even more. So what I'm going to do is wash this on. Sort of coming over his head as well there, so just going to whack some on the head. Fantastic. What I'll probably do after this is dry is probably go over it with a smaller brush and give it a second coat of the shade. Just so I don't think it's doing it much justice. It looks absolutely fantastic. See the bit there where it looks white, it's not, it's actually purple. The light isn't really helping it. It's not a big issue. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go with Rattling Grime, and what I'm going to do with the Rattling Grime is colour all the concrete. Bear with me, let's clean this brush down. Yeah, Rattling Grime. I think this colour on the energy transference would not have done any sort of justice. I was looking at it thinking that's great, I'll do that, but I don't think it will do it any justice. Honestly, I think the Eldari Emerald would be a bit too greeny with the weapon. So Rattling, that is Rattling Grime, yeah. And Rattling Grime, all of this concrete. Now, where we done the lighter, we done it. I've done 2 coats of, with some metal piping there, look. I've done 2 coats of Screaming Skull, not over the whole thing, just in certain areas. And then I've dropped some white scars in other little areas. And then I put this on. You're going to have really bright areas and really dark areas. And then that's going to really make it stand out even more. So I'm going to go off camera and do the rest of this, the Rattling Grime. I'll come back to you afterwards. Right, so here we are. Now that's all dried. That looks amazing. That looks absolutely fantastic. So what I want to do now is I'm going to wash his clothes down. Now I'm not sure which way to go with this. I'm going to go contrast paint on his robes. And I was actually thinking of just doing this one, but I've got another contrast blue that I picked up for something else, which I might just get out and use that on there. Got his weapon to finish off, and there's a little bit of work to do on the energy transference afterwards. But so when I say his weapon, I'm talking about all the little bits here, his little ball joints there. Yeah, so I'm gonna have a look for that other colour, contrast blue, to go on his clothes, and I'll come back to you when I found it, and if that's the one I'm going to go with. Right, so I'm going to go with this one. This is Storm Fiend. Yeah, so I'm going to just go with it. I don't know what it's going to look like. Let me show you the rattling grime actually on the concrete piece. Look absolutely fantastic. That's, you can see on here, that's just where I went over it with the let me move you over there before I knock you over. When I went over it with the white scars. So now I'm just going to get some in here. I didn't actually realise that this guy actually has a little leather pouch on him. Let's get all of this. Now you also remember with these trousers, I actually white scarred all the rivets at the top, all the little creases in it, just so it stands out even more. When this contrast paint dries, it should give me such amazing highlights on the top of his body without actually doing very much there. A little bit now missed. Right, so that's that done. Also, because I'm doing this colour on that part there, it also gives me a chance to test this colour out before I use it on what I bought it for. Because if I don't like the way it looks, then I go, okay, I won't use that on that particular model. Right, so what I'm going to do now is we're going to get some moot green that's on the wet palette. I'm going to water, it's the airbrush paint, so it's quite watered down anyway. I'm going to water it down a little bit more. It's really runny. Now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to have that much on the brush, that's too much. Take that off the brush. Some of this really watery stuff. It's really watery. I'm going to come in. I'm just going to do the joins first of all. Now over the top of this crystal, see how watery it is. So watery, that's the way you want it. Now with the joins and stuff, where it's that watery, it will just flow into the joins. And because it's that watery, it won't take long to dry. Let's get some on there. Don't panic, I'm not going to show you every single one on camera because there is a few of them. Just going to show you his weapon. Now with the blade, I'm going to run it along the edge. Like that. Yeah, that's all I want to do is run it along the edge. This is the top of the weapon. Now I'm going to go off camera and do all the rest of the balls, and like this little thing here, run it all along in the middle like that. The idea is where it's so watered down, like I said, it really catches any little indentations in it, especially on this. So let me show you this one quickly. This is the little energy balls. It will really stand out. So I'm going to go off camera and do these and come back to you then. So here's where we're at. Yeah, so as you can see, I actually done what I showed you, then I started doing the same wetness after 2 or 3 coats on the places that I showed you. I then took the same wetness of the moot green and edge highlighted. Yeah, so it was all edge highlighted. Same as the blade at the bottom. Now this is better already. Okay, you can put it down on the table, away you go. But if you're new here, you go, oh, that's great, yeah, fantastic. But all my regulars know me by now. I'm going to take it to the next stage now. So what I'm going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is wet my brush and get some white scars, but water it down so it's very, very watery. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick out little bits on here. Just give us a faint little once over, just to make these bits stand out even more. Now I only gave it 1 coat of the Druky Violet. As you can see, that's absolutely fantastic. Now white scars is a layer paint, so it will go on bright and dull itself down. But part of the reason why we're watering it down is so that it doesn't go on as thick. Plan is not to hit every single part, just a few parts. But now all I've targeted is bits on the outside edge. Yeah, that's all I've targeted. Here his little hand, his little boner, and space a little once over with some white scars just to brighten it up a little bit. But I don't want to take the purple away. So you see the purple on the back of his hand, that just gives you more effect of the and his soul being taken out of him. So around this side I'm going to do the same thing with these little bits. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take moot green that's on the brush, on the wet palette, and I'm going to mix it with some white scars to give me a really like pea green, if you like. Yeah, so it's this sort of consistency. Brush it clean because there's too much on it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, water it down a little bit more on the wet palette, so it's really watery. And I'm going to hit his weaponry, but I'm not going to do the whole lot. I'll start with this little bad boy up here. So I'm just going to try and get into the edge parts as I can. Yeah, now that looks white, but it is a pea green colour. Now with the weapon, when I go along the inside edge, same with this bit, just come along the inside edge. Some of you might be looking, oh no, what's going on? Don't panic, just trust me. No, that's what we've got. It looks really white, but look at that. That's starting to really dull down now. We're going to get into these little balls and just a little blob sort of in the centre like that, just to give us a little look of power coming through it. Now at this stage, even if when this dries, if I don't like it, I can just come back over a bit more moot green and just get rid of it. But I know it's going to look fantastic. leave that to dry for a couple of minutes. We'll go to the next stage of the weaponry. The last bit I've got is let me show you where we're at so far. It's pretty nice. So I've got some white scars that's really watered down, and I'm going to come in and just gently try and tap it into the little gaps there. And then on his back, I'm just going to follow this little line. Sorry, I'm doing off camera again. I apologise, guys. I'm going to follow this little line. That's what we're going for. Just a little. Because where I've already done the green's going to stand out more. The white scar's going to dry down. So yeah, as it dries, it's going to dull itself down. And because it's a layer paint, that's what I do. Because I've watered it down, it's going to really just really pick out these little lines. Now what, last little thing to do, gonna get a little bit of white scars, and I'm going for a little dot in the eyes, and I might even just give it a little edge highlight around here. And then do this one. Let's get in here and just drop some white in there. Let's look at its eyeball. Yeah, looking good. Let's drop a little bit of white on here. I think I'm getting a bit too over the top now. I will stop myself in a second. A little bit of white on there, just so it gives me a nice little glow effect. Try and get a little bit on that edged blade there. I'm edge highlighting it with watered down white scars just to give me a nice little effect. Now I have to leave that to dry for a few minutes, but that's done. I'm not going to do nothing else to that. I think if I don't stop now, I'm going to keep going and going and going, and then get to the point where it's too busy. Now I do have none oil here, and I was going to wash down metallic parts, but I thought no, it doesn't need it. It looks fine. So if you've enjoyed this video, guys, first of all, let me say thank you for voting for this model. It's absolutely a joy to paint. It was been there for a little while, so now it's done to add to my Necron force, which is going to be great when it comes to the next battle. The next battle shouldn't be Necrons, should be demons, I think, if I can get them done in time. But anyway, it's been a joy to paint. Thank you for voting. If you enjoyed this painting video, if it's helped you in any way, please subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing but helps the channel out in a massive way. Turn your notifications on if you haven't already done so, because then you get notified for every video that I do. I don't just do painting videos. For all my regulars here, thank you guys for supporting me for this long, and thank you for for continuing watching my videos and leaving your comments below and everything else. If you have any comments about the paint job on this model or anything that you think I could have done to it, chuck a comment below. Just we all learn and we all grow from each other's comments and helping each other. I'm going to bring you down and show you some pretty pictures, but thank you for watching. Hit the buttons for me. Until next time, take it easy, guys.